All right, last class we had worked on some of those the little archway. So to get there, I'm gonna log in first of all to Fusion. In your Home tab, you should have a practice project to double click on, and now we're in there. Um, and I'm gonna go back to this practice two where we built those two archways. All right. Now, um, I think we had only built a single component. So this component consists of a couple different bodies. So expand where it says bodies, and you should see body one and body two if you hover over those. Those were to illustrate two different ways of making this thing. And we're going to get rid of one of them. So just choose one of them. Doesn't really matter which one, and we're going to delete it. Okay. Leaving one of those archways. Now we're going to make a couple new components. So we're going to come up here and say create new component. Now I think I forgot to do that last time. That's okay. This little square means that I do have a component already. So let's start. We're going to make these two little guys and stack them on there, the cylinder and a little wedge shaped guy. So here we go. Let's go ahead and create a new component, create new component. Now it highlights this because it assumes you want to build it on that. It sort of puts it in the background. We're going to say, okay. It says, what type do you want? We'll deal with some of these things later. Okay. Now notice that this guy is kind of faded into the background, our original shape. That's okay. We can still sketch on this surface. Notice it highlights. It's kind of hard to see, but it is highlighting on the top. We're going to build that cylinder up from that surface. Now, it's not necessarily connected to this. Now, it's hard to see it flipped around. Again, shift key down. You'll be able to move around and see, okay, now I know where I am. To see what we're doing and what we're drawing on, I'm just going to click on the view cube to get us back to looking straight perpendicular to this surface. Now, I already measured this. It's about a 1 1/8 diameter. So let's go ahead and make our circle. Now we can reference something in here if we want to. I want to show you how this works. See how this little guy, if we hover our mouse, I'm not clicking on anything, makes a little triangle. That means I'm at the midpoint. And then if I drag my mouse over, see that dashed line? That is showing me that I'm right in the middle. So I want to be right in the middle of that short edge and then approximate where I want to put it. I could dimension it, but I'm not going to worry about that. Click to place my center point, pull, and I'm going to type in, boy, that's, yeah, just a little smaller. That's good. 1.125 is 1 1/8 inches. Enter. That gets me my shape, so I can now finish sketch. It should move it to an isometric view, which is good. And I'm going to extrude that shape now upward to, let's measure this little guy, 2 3/8, which would be 2.375, or you could have put 2 plus 3/8. I just happen to know that. All right, so now we're good. Now, you'll notice that once I finished that original part didn't come back. It's still faded out. That's because it's not activated. So what we're going to do is usually after we've finished a component, we're going to come back up here, hover over the topmost part. Now you'll notice it's become different. It was a square before. Now it's an assembly. That's because we have more than one component in here, and we have a basic component. So we're going to click on that little button to activate it. All right. Now one more, we're going to make this little wedge. And this one we're going to start sketching on the front face. So again, create new component. Say okay to this. We're going to sketch. Just click sketch on this front face this time. And now this time I'm going to go ahead and make some lines. Now I may or may not be able to hook up to that line. Let's find out. Yeah, it'll hook me up to that line. So let's go somewhere. Let's go ahead and go right up against that. Actually, that's the midpoint. If I hover over. Okay, I want to go a little bit away from the cylinder. So don't hook up to the midpoint, move out a little bit, but that X means I'm hooking onto the line below it. We're going to come upward now. And while it's going straight up, notice that it's 90 degrees. I want it to stay that way. So be careful you're not making a line that's a little bit tilted, but we're snapped to 90 degrees. And that was, oops, we're now on the little triangle, which is 2 1/4. So 2.25. Okay, enter. Now we're going to make another line that is going to come up from, we're going to hook somewhere on there. Now I don't know exactly where it is, and I'll show you how to use the dimension tool in just a moment. Just find a spot somewhere out here. Click to hook it to that, and we're going to click. See that little square that shows up? That means we're hooking up to that point. Okay, and it has made this a shape that we can now extrude. So that's good. I don't need to draw a line right here because it recognizes the line below it. But I don't know how far apart those are, and I need to set those. So here's another way to do that. And that is going to be right at an inch. Up here is dimension tool. Now your toolbar might look a little different. You might have a drop-down menu you need depending on the size screen you have. We're going to click dimension. So notice it highlights it blue. Anything that we are going to use is blue. We're going to click on that endpoint and click on that endpoint, and notice that this dimension tool shows up. Click again, just place it somewhere down in here, click, and that is going to be 1, enter, and it will make that exact size. Sketch. Okay. And we are going to now say, okay, we're going to flip this around so that we can see what we're doing, and now extrude this shape. I'm going to go the other way, and let's go ahead and make it an inch deep. Now notice that it's a negative 1 inches because I'm going the opposite way from which the way the arrow went to begin with, and that's fine. Enter. We're going to go up to the topmost level, and we're going to activate that. All right, cool. So we now have some parts stacked up. We could connect them together. They're actually individual pieces because I can move it. I'm going to undo that to move it back. So, all right, the last thing we're going to do is kind of fun. We're going to assign different materials and looks to these parts. So you may have made a component out of this, but if you scroll down, like there's bodies. Right now I only show 2 components. There's my cylinder, there's my thing. So this isn't a component, it's a body. If you go down to bodies and expand it, you should see 3 separate things that you can hover over, showing you what those solid bodies are. We're going to assign each one of those a material and a appearance. So let's start with our archway. Right click, okay? And there's, notice down here it says physical material and appearance. We're going to click on physical material and a window will pop up. Move me out of the way here. All sorts of different things, okay? I think I'll make this first one out of wood since it really is wood, and it's got all these different things in it. Okay. Now, in order to apply something, and notice that there are colors and things for some of them, but not for others. Let's go ahead and choose one that's got a color to it. You choose whatever you want. Kind of scroll through there. Ooh, I like that walnut. Now, in order to do this, you're going to have to take this guy and, well, let me try to assign it first and see what happens by taking this and dragging it over here. Oh, it does do it, and it does assign it to my library. If you don't like it, just click undo and do something else. I don't like the way that looked, so I'm going to undo that, right-click on body, back to physical material. I think I'll try cherry. Click on it, drag it over to the component. Now, I actually didn't need to go to the component here because I can leave this window open, and I should be able to do other things also, so I can expand that. Let's see what we've got in stone. Not much there that's, there's liquids. You can make things out of water if you want, so why not? Let's go ahead and go to this next component, make that out of water, and I don't know, you guys choose what you want to choose. So there's all sorts of different things that we can make it out of. I think I'll do a plastic. Now what this is doing is this is actually creating a material. It has the properties of the material, it has the mass of the material, so on and so forth. But we can also give it an appearance. So let's go ahead and alter at least one of these to give it an appearance, which means it retains the material still, but now it will get a different look. So let's go ahead and go to one of those components and go to appearance. Okay. Notice it saved some things, but now this is not changing the material, it's just changing what it looks like. So you can come down here and see what else we've got down here. Now this one's going to be a little different. I'm going to unexpand some things. If you click on the folder, it will unexpand it. So I think I'm just going to give this a paint look. I like red. Now, here's a problem. If you have these guys that show a download, we're not ready to use those yet. So you'll have to go to something else that does not have a download button, because that requires a process to get that. So I'm going to go ahead and go here. Again, drag that over. Now, that component is still made out of the wood. It's just got a coating now of paint on it that makes it a different appearance, but it still holds the properties of the wood. Now, before you do anything else, your file is saved in the cloud, but you do have to save it. So make sure that you come up here and save. Now, when you click this is kind of important, click save. Notice it says this, a lot of students think this means you're saving it as a name again. You don't need to do anything with this. What this is doing is it's saving a version of this so that if you ever need to go back to something, you can go back to that. Don't even worry about, just leave the user saved in there. Click OK, and what it's doing is it's updating. See, it even changed the image over here of what that is. So don't worry about changing anything in that little window unless for some reason later on we need to save a version. All right, folks, good job. I'm gonna ask you to take a screenshot of that, and we'll play around with some other stuff next time. All right, thank you.